So we were just talking about like being in a waiting room. And when you said 2 years, I was like, "Ugh, I am so, you know how I texted you the other day and I was like, I feel like they wrap me in blankets and then they're putting me through one of those old fashioned laundry wringers with the two rollers where you get squeezed through. Like they're trying to protect me, but I'm really starting, it's really starting to be annoying. Like I am just, but I think it's all the old programming about not producing stuff. Like I feel like I'm just living, you know? I'm just living. I'm just doing like the everyday things. I'm not accomplishing these huge projects. I'm just day to day living. I'm just day to day living.
And what if that is the meaning of being physical?
Well,
The
maybe it's
everyday
just me.
meaning and that transformation that is happening within us. You're not the same person that you were 2 years ago.
No, but it's kind of weird to live your life strictly for yourself in that sense, you know? Like I
Well,
am not
you're not
contributing to any, well, I guess I'm taking care of my family and stuff, but
just to bring some awareness there. Every time that I talk to you, you bring light into my life. Every time, when I'm coming with all these questions and all my programming of this is how things are and this is what I'm doing and I don't understand, and you just say three, four words, and then I'm like, ah, okay. So you are creating that change of, you are exchanging with me information that is helping me figuring out my life too. So how many other relationships you have where you are yourself and you share your light and helps others to find their paths.
I think there's some ego in there too, like when you're saying that, because that makes me feel good that I am doing something to help you and support you and make you feel better. But then
And
there are other
feeling
people,
good for that, what is a bad thing? Feeling good.
I think I think the bad thing is that the ego part of it, I think, is because it's a very intimate sphere of people that I have that I'm interacting with on a regular basis. And some of them I feel like I want to share light and I want to lighten their load, and they're not in the place to accept it. So, there's the aspect of it's a few people, and out of those few people, only some of them I'm actually feel like I'm helping, and the others are kind of just they're in their own thing, and
But
I
the
can't.
few people that are in your life are the people that creation is bringing to your life because they can be fed through your life. They can understand your life and receive your light. And perhaps the ones that you feel are not doing anything with your light are people that are collecting but not being able to understand it yet, but they're keeping it within. So
Yeah,
how you really measure what you are giving and how you are helping others? What is the measurement? Now everybody will tell you, "Oh
yeah,
yeah, thank you, I got it," but
yeah,
you don't know what you are planting.
yeah. That's the weird thing. It's a weird.
That's the ego part. The ego part wants
Yeah,
to see the results. Your true self wants to give. So every time you give, you are being true to yourself.
yeah.
Now, of course, the ego mind wants the applause and they thank you, Christine, you are amazing.
Exactly. That's why I said it's the ego.
So probably that's what you're not getting, but that doesn't mean that your true self is not being expressed.
Yeah. But then it's interesting too, where if the true self wants to give, there's also relationships that I have in my life that you're probably aware of, where I'm pulling back and changing what I give, when I give, and how I give.
Yes. That could be your ego mind guiding you to where to go and how to navigate that path. It could be a really good compass telling you they're ready for your information. It's the right time for you to give to these people, and then no to this one because they have to discover something else or they need other type of information. So I feel like who you are is amazing and it fits perfectly with my path right now. But now with not everybody's path is
Yeah.
aligned with who you are right now and with information that you have to share right now.
Yeah.
So if you feel like don't share it here, it might be your true self saying, this is not for you to do. Someone else will bring information to that group or to that, you know,
Yeah.
those people.
It's really interesting because that's like the video that I did put up yesterday and the post that I've been making about speaking your truth, and you kind of gauge the environment you're in and who you're talking to in order to know whether they're even open to hearing the truth, if it would even help them in some way, or if it's just you just speaking words because you want to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's similar. I'm choosing the people that how much I give is dependent on whether that person can receive it, like you're saying, and whether it really will help both of us
Mm-hmm.
if I give that love, support, time, connection, or if it's going to be either not received, or if it's me giving away too much of myself and not really getting anything positive in return.
Actually, it could be also that your spiritual path, like you are going to the light or towards the light in one direction, and the other people is going in a different direction. So your insight, your way of perceiving spirituality will not be understood because it's not part of that person um, transformation or experience. So it's not that your information is wrong or the other person is not ready for your information. It's just that the two paths are not aligned. Both paths going to the same place, but from way different directions.
Yeah,
So your experiences, the other person will not relate to your experiences because they
yeah,
have to live experiences that come from other places. And
yeah,
they might be waiting for information in a complete different format. So I think it's really good that you have that sense of sharing here and not sharing there, sharing now and not sharing right now, because
yeah,
that means that you are attuned to your inner knowing and you are receiving the information of where you are needed and how you are needed. And then understanding now this is not for you to get into it. So
yeah,
it's a good compass that is well attuned, knowing when to get in and when to get out.
yeah. And I think what I meant by like they're not ready for it is that idea that our paths might cross at some point and we might be resonating with what each of us is experiencing. But I also have to recognize that, like you said, like maybe our paths are parallel and they're
Mhm.
never going to cross and they're not meant to. And it's just, and it kind of ties into the dream that I was sharing, where it was like, if people speak their truth or live their truth, I don't have to take it personally. It's
Mhm.
not about me.
I
It's
love
about
what you
them.
said about the path being parallels because that gives you the idea of no one going like behind or ahead of it's like we're all going. It's
Yes.
just but not walking that same path and not crossing our path. So it's like I think I love this idea of not putting a sticker or it's like okay you are moving faster, you are slower, it's
Yes.
just like we're going. So I love that idea of parallel.
That's what I wrote about this morning. I wrote about, so I was meditating, and I don't know how it just came to my head. Well, first of all, I started crying because Archangel Michael came. He always pulls me to the right, and then I know that he's there. And then I started crying, and then like I thought of you with the Star of David and the circle and protection. And so then I had them all around me, and I'm crying. And I'm like, okay, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I got this idea about how in the spiritual community we use the word ascension a lot, and how that implies, or 3D to 5D. It's all over the place. And it has that hierarchical thing, like I'm at 5D and you're down there at 3D, or I'm ascending faster than you, or, and that whole idea. So that's what I wrote about this morning and put up in the blog. And it was that idea of it's not about hierarchy. And I got this image then of the 3D Merkaba,
Mm-hmm.
and how it has the points that come out. And if you just shift it a minute little bit, the points touch at different spots. And if you keep shifting, all of a sudden you have a perfect sphere. And all those spots are all the different ways of experiencing oneness and wholeness, whether it's your higher self experiencing in different facets or God unity. And that sphere, it's not one level above the other. And it's that sphere, all those separate points point out into the universe. And once you've completed that sphere by moving the Merkaba, those tiny, tiny fractional shifts, you have a perspective of the all.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know how I got the hierarchy, the feeling higher and better than. And it's that whole like social structure of we're always comparing ourselves to others.
Mm-hmm.
We're always judging something as better or worse or right or wrong. And I really wanted to like get away from that. Like the spiritual path, it's the path. It's whatever you're on, wherever you're at. And I really feel like people use those terms and don't even realize that there's a superiority built in when they're talking about how I'm ascending or I'm moving from 3D to 5D. Even if they don't intend it that way, the use of it, the audience hearing it, picks up on it, whether they realize it or not, like it's on the subconscious level. So that's everything I wrote about this morning.
I think just the idea of ascending and expressing that you are in that boat of ascension brings your ego to here. I'm the ones that are belong to that group of that is ascending. So the
Yes,
moment that you ego mind is like, yeah, I'm in, then that just shows that you have a lot more work to do.
exactly. And I saw that in myself. Like that's what they showed me. Like you like the idea
Oh
that
yeah,
you're ascending.
yeah.
You like the idea you're moving from 3D to 4D to 5D. And that's when I was like, you're totally right. But then while I was writing it, I referred to the higher self.
Mm-hmm.
And there you have it again. Like we're almost like built mentally to process the world. You will know this in categories and subcategories, and
I love that.
So in a way, I think it's like human nature to understand the world in a linear way, whether you want to do the linear this way of higher than or in time. It's just how we're built to understand, but we have to build an awareness that we tend to do that and to create understanding of our lives and the world we're living in. But if we're on a spiritual path, then it becomes the sphere.
For me, it's becoming more like within.
Mm-hmm.
Feel that the spiritual path more and more is becoming me and about me. And through the meditations in the morning, the messages are more and more clear. That is, if you really, like this morning's message, is if you're really focusing on all the things that you have to align within yourself, like you have the situation today, and you have to understand what changes you want to make, what directions you want to shift today, what things you have to do today, like part of being physical, what opportunities for change you have. So when you start focusing on your day and you live in the present, it's so much attention that requires from you that you don't have time to think a week ahead. You just have to figure today. And even more than that, you don't have time to check how others are doing. So the message that we have today is, through this journey, you can check your friends to see how they're doing, but there is so much attention that your own transformation requires from you that you don't have energy to go figure out their path and tell them how to live, what to do, what they have to do. And the same comes the other way. Other people won't have time to figure your life and give you accurate information on what you have to do if they're really busy fixing and transforming themselves, aligning themselves. So when someone comes and tell you how things should be in your life, you can understand that it's someone that is not using their energy to do their inner transformation. So it's not an opinion that, of course, you can consider, but really trust your heart better.
Yeah.
So it's like comparing yourself to others or trying to figure who is more advanced or who is taking longer, or it's just based on what rules. You can change that, you can analyze that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally agree.
I love the idea of parallel paths. One thing that we got is, at some point we can support each other. So we have enough to look around and see if someone needs a hug, if needs, compassion or a little bit of love. But it's offering that, not stepping into their path and telling them what to do. So it's yeah, opening ourselves to see who needs, who is asking for advice or who is asking for, ideas, but when it's asked,
Hmm.
when you feel the other person can receive that information. When you
Yeah.
feel like, okay, we're kind of navigating, going through the same situation in life. And one of the things that I'm getting will help you understand is this idea of speaking the same language. When you start talking to someone, I'm just now, when you start talking to someone and you feel like you are adding to the conversation, like when we usually talk, when you say something and then I get a little bit more or deeper into that, and then you bring more into that. So when it feels like we are talking the same language, that is an interaction that is meant to happen. So it's like we're both building up, we are both exploring together. At that point, our spiritual paths are crossing, and we can hold hands and move forward together. But
Hmm.
again, it doesn't mean that it's going to be forever. So, it might be that conversation, and then the
Yeah.
path changed.
Yeah. And that's what it really, so yesterday morning when everything came together with the speaking your truth, one of I had a conversation with my son, and I realized that, so this reaching out to others and offering caring or offering support or offering suggestions or advice, I think a lot of times people do that for reasons that aren't really altruistic. Like they're not just selflessly trying to give support. There's something that they're looking for. So if they give advice and the other person says, "Wow, that's really great advice," their ego gets stroked because they want to be validated. So like I know people that give advice and advice and advice and advice, and it's because they like to be the one deciding things. They like to be in control. They like to be leading other people. They need to be validated in that way. And then I know other people that are giving love and comfort and comfort and comfort and comfort and attention and attention, and their motivations for doing it are because that's their need. They never got enough love and attention and attention, and so they think that's how you show love, is by doing that. So there's these wounds that people have sometimes, that they are offering the love and compassion from a place of woundedness or a place of ego, And so I think that self-awareness that you're talking about really helps you also start to think about, why do I feel the need to be offering this person advice or comfort or compassion or love in this moment? And sometimes I think we're doing it because we want to make ourselves feel better versus helping the other person.
Mhm. I think I can go to the message that we got yesterday.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
you're always Carol.
I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. Um, because it gave me a lot of clarity. We we are in a way kind of a container. Our physical body is a container, right? And we are filled with energy. Now there is a flow that we could activate that will help us flow through life. And it's the flow of giving, or I'm sorry, the flow of being in permanent state of receiving from the divine and then giving. So we have to make sure that the flows go from the divine into us, from our heart out there, out
Yeah.
to the world. So how we make that flow going, how we make sure that we are receiving, we are in a state of always receiving from source, by making sure that we get empty inside. We create room inside, space inside. And how we create that space? By giving our light. If we give, it's always happening automatically and simultaneously. So you never get empty. But the moment that you create space, then there is like a creation law. That's the way they put it, where spirit has to fill that space with light. So if you create a space, spirit has to fill it in with divine light. But to create a space, you give, right?
Mm.
Now the thing is, you are creating a current of energy by
Yes.
you giving. The current has to come down and out. If you are expecting something in return in physicality, if you give to someone and you are expecting something in return, then the current gets complicated because instead of doing this, there is a current giving, but also you are attracting something, you are calling for something. The moment that you call from that energy from our dimension, then there is energy coming in, and it's this kind of creating a blockage with
Mm-hmm.
the downloading of energy. So when you are sure that the current is that way, then the pouring comes automatically into you. If you are expecting from earth, then there is in and out. So you're not that empty. So it creates a little bit of confusion inside of you, and there is nothing or little that can be brought into your physical experience. So I'm putting together this because if we give expecting a recognition, if we give advice expecting that our advice will change someone's life, if we help expecting because then we're going to feel better, better person, better human being, more, if we are into charity, expecting some kind of recognition, if we teach or share information expecting an applause, then the current is not really going out. There is, two currents going at the same time. We are not making this flow go with ease.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that made sense, if I was able to explain it. But and I was as I was saying this, as I was receiving this message yesterday, there's a part of me that received the message and then my ego mind that fights everything that is coming. But yesterday my ego mind is like, oh, I'm there all the time. So every time that I give, I'm always expecting something.
Yeah.
I'm always expecting, even if it's not a thank you, but I'm expecting a result. I'm expecting, if I give an advice and I'm expecting that person to use that advice. Even if they don't say thank you, but I want to see it. And it's not that, okay, I said this because it came from my heart and I'm walking away. It's done. I'm leaving. I say it, it's done, but now I'm watching and see what happened with it. And that's the part that you have to disconnect from, the waiting and see what you did, what you shared, how transformed something in physicality.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because to me, it's coming back to how we started the conversation about like, I'm just living an everyday life. Like I'm not having
That's
this
what we're supposed to do.
impact. Exactly. So it really is like what you're talking about. I wrote down, do you even need an audience to give? Right? Because it's
No,
not about
no. Right now, in this thing that we are doing, we are always happy chatting with each other. So we are recording our chatting in case someone out there can use this message. And that's have to be the whole intention, like enjoying this connection, enjoying the conversation, enjoying what we are doing right now. And then if we decide to post, post it, and then leave it up to creation to decide who and when should connect with this video. If we are go ahead.
This is interesting though, because the way we've been conditioned is to always project outward and to gain whatever we need from outside of ourselves.
Yes.
So even in conversations that we have when friends are calling because they're having a tough time or they need some help, the giving, the old me, like the me, even now, I still am doing it, but I'm more aware of it. But we've just been conditioned to always relate to the world that way.
Mhm.
That there's validation that we get from the world, and that's part of the motivation of doing things. That even like the idea of me saying, I'm just living an everyday life. I'm not writing books and creating classes and, going out and feeding the poor every day. And, I'm not having these major impactful things so that other people can see that I am doing something. And it's that validation that I'm seeking from the outer world. And we do that even down to like the smallest conversations that we have or the meals that we make. I do it too. My mother used to always, when we would sit down and we'd start eating dinner, she'd be like, does it taste okay? Is it good?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like it's in everything that we do that we've been trained to expect and need something back.
And perhaps that's the only thing that we have to change. Instead of focusing.
The only thing that's big for me.
But it's the only thing. Perhaps the only thing we have to do is, okay, what I'm doing now. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm doing my best today. I'm expressing my joy, my light, who I am, and being honest when I'm talking to you. And then that's it. And then when this conversation ends, I move to the next thing and going through that thing with the same attitude. If I'm going to exercise, am I enjoying the exercise? Am I having fun here? I feel like my heart is, blooming while I'm moving. And then that's it. Who cares if I'm getting healthier or not, or losing weight or not, or getting younger or not? It's just I'm present in exercise, in doing the exercising. And then notice what comes next. Probably is going to cook. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to do something because I love my family. I'm going to cook what they love to eat. I'm giving my heart there. And then who knows how the meal is going to end up being, but I did my best.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that shift of being present, feeling or checking if what we're doing is aligned with our heart, and then doing it with all our love, and then move to the next thing. And then keep moving through the day until it's time to go to sleep. Just keep moving. And it's like going through life planting seeds. I love this idea. Going through life planting seed, but not going back to check if the tree is coming out or how the tree is growing. It's just like, I'm planting seeds wherever I go. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah. I feel that way too, more so about the spiritual curiosities that I have, because I feel like I'm all over the place. You know, I'm dabbling in so much. So I feel like those are seeds that I'm planting, but I don't know if they're seeds from trees or weeds or flowers or vegetables. Like I have no idea. I just know that at some point I'm going to know, oh, that was a tree that I planted when I look back. But I feel like part of the everyday living is not like this like end goal in sight and you're just like heading in that direction. Like I kind of graze all over the place in all different kinds of places and have no like there's no like end result that I'm looking for. There's no like certification. There's no
Mhm.
like I don't even feel like I can master anything anymore. I feel like there's always going to be more to learn and more to explore and more to add.
Yeah, but what was mastering? Or
Yeah.
what is mastering? It's just doing one thing over and over with anxiety, focusing on something, and then forgetting about the rest of things.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying there is anything wrong with people that have that focus right now, but I'm just saying why that has to be the only way of living or the only way of going through life.
Hmm.
Why it has to be one way? And you were mentioning you don't know if you're planting trees or flowers or weeds. What is the difference? You're planting.
Hmm.
You don't know what is needed 20 years from now.
Oh,
Maybe you are hoping, okay, I'm hoping for trees, but then maybe 20 years from now, life needs weed. And thank goodness you did all the planting of weed. And if you judge what you're planting now based on what is good right now, maybe you will feel, oh, I wanted to plant trees and I only planted weed, you
yeah.
know? But who knows what's gonna be needed? If you follow your heart and you pick a seed, okay, this is the seed that I want to plant. I don't know why, but I'm gonna plant it.
Yeah.
And then you leave the rest to creation. Allow creation to handle that seed and create something beautiful out of it. You did
Yeah.
your part.
Or create nothing. Like I'm okay if I plant a seed and it never grows. Like it and I'm so excited about the surprise of it all. Like I'm really good with not knowing at this like the inner me. The
Mhm.
outer me does struggle sometimes, but the inner me is kind of like a kid, you know. I'm just wondering what's going to come of it and how it the all these couple seeds over here, what they're going to create together.
Mhm.
And you know, so I really am enjoying it. I do feel privileged in a way that I can enjoy it because I don't have the ability to like work like a 9 to 5 kind of job. And so I do feel like honored that I can just like lay back in this field in the sunshine and just wait and see what happens. So I do wonder sometimes if you do have to, I don't want to use labels like 3D, but if you
Mhm.
do have to, you know, work that job for the income and, you know, spend a lot of your energy and focus on that, how that balances with the spiritual joy of just creating to create.
I'm, I'm, I'm wondering if even if you have the 9 to 5 job or maybe two jobs, if you can still give yourself 10 minutes or 5 minutes in your day to do something that matters to you.
Yeah.
Because I feel that we need to get the flow going. And when you have that flow going through you, then things start rearranging on their own. It's just the the light that comes through you, the one that also create the changes in your experiences, in your physical experiences to create more room for that light.
Yeah.
You need to get the wheel going. You need to get the flow going. So if you can, in your busy life, if you can take 2 minutes and do something that matters to you, a 2 minutes meditation, contemplation, hugging a tree, if that makes sense to you, reading 2 pages of a book that you really want to read. So if you can start with baby steps and get into that mood of feeling connected, even if it's for 5 minutes in your day, or just I feel this a lot when I go check my daughter and she's sleeping with a peaceful face. That brings my connection back to source. So if you are contemplating that and knowing that there have a bed and a roof and food to eat because of your hard work, then contemplate that moment. Connect with that smile, connect with that moment of peace and gratitude, and be present in that moment because that experience is what's going to activate the light in you. That experience is that giving. When you have, 2 jobs to take care of your family, you are giving and you are giving unconditionally. So stay present in that understanding of giving and then allow God to bring back more light into you because at that moment you are expressing love out. And that's all we need to express love out in any way. So I think I cannot think of someone that cannot take a little bit of time just to contemplate, to find something beautiful, a flower or the sky or a tree, and take the face of your kids, something that can bring that peace within the harmony and gratitude. And that gets the flow growing. That gets the flow going. So the moment that you start adjusting the current, that is also pulling light in. And that new light that comes in will come with even more strength to create more changes. So it's a spiral that is going
Mhm.
to start opening.
Yeah, and it's true, like, when you said it's just 10 minutes a day, I am not, like, even the other day, I was gonna talk to you because I I don't meditate every day,
Mhm.
and there are some days that go by, and I never even once have the thought that I should meditate, and I'm a I believe that if I were meant to be meditating, then
Mhm.
my soul would be asking me to do that, and I would resonate with it. But I never felt that because I wasn't sitting on a cushion, quiet with my eyes closed, focusing on my breathing for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, it didn't mean that I wasn't connected.
Mhm.
And I really felt like I connected and had those moments throughout the day just in sitting outside or just in playing with my dogs or in enjoying like the cooking a meal or so I do think that you're right, you can connect and it doesn't have to be in this sense that most people have about this is how you live a spiritual
Well,
life.
we go back again to the structures that we have. Like this is meditation, this
Yeah.
is praying, this is so pick one from this box or that box.
Yeah.
And for me, I do meditation, but for me, contemplating fire, well, the moment I start contemplating fire, I disappear. I don't know what's happening with me. So, and that's one of my deepest way of connection. Watching trees. I have a special love for trees. I don't need to go touch them. I just need to watch them.
Yeah.
So that also brings something in me, and sometimes, yeah, I kind of have a routine of meditating every morning, but not on weekends. And on weekends, I just enjoy a fire. I enjoy a tree. And sometimes, because you know that I'm always going with intentions, that's something that I'm trying to adjust in me. My morning meditations are being with intention of recording and editing and posting and all that kind of stuff. But watching a tree, watching the fire, I'm not recording anything. I'm just being present.
Hmm.
That is,
Yeah.
1 minute.
And it's not the other aspect of it too for me, living a spiritual life and building that like mindful awareness and connection with soul self. There are things that open, like keys that I get from talks with you or things that I hear in lectures, um, that open little aspects where then I become aware and I start thinking about it and I start seeing how it's happening in my life, or I have these realizations about, oh, I'm reacting this way, and I feel that wound in me, and then I start to work on it. But it's never about like I have to study for hours on end every day, you know? It's almost like as soon as you open that connection, it's a natural thing that happens. So you don't have to have hours a day of studying and reading and attending lectures or whatever, in order to move along the path. It's almost like a natural thing that happens. Like once you open and say you're willing to receive, you will get what you need, the awarenesses, the aha moments, the triggers that help you move along and heal and confront those things that need to be confronted and also celebrate the things that need to be celebrated. So, maybe it has nothing to do with how much time you have in a day. It
Perhaps
just is,
has more to do with awareness.
and a
Whatever,
willingness to receive that.
yeah, the awareness of what you're experiencing and
Yeah,
what that experience is showing you, and how you can use that transformation, or how you can use that information to bring that wisdom in you. And perhaps there is aspect that can be adjusted based on that new information that you have. And that
yeah,
information can come from a conversation, from an experience, from an obstacle in your life, from a challenge, even from, a person that comes in your life in a more, challenging way. And instead of reacting, you're like, okay, what can I do with this?
yeah. It made me think because I was at the dentist like a week or two ago, and the technician was talking to me, oh, what do you do? And I never know how to answer that. So I said, oh, I have a business and I do mindfulness and spiritual workshops and mindfulness. I always wanted to get into that, but I'm the type of person, I get up in the morning, I brush my teeth. She goes from the minute she gets up, and she's like, I never am like a sit still kind of person. So, I'd really like to do meditation, but I just can't. And I just said to her, I said, you don't have to deny who you are. Like there are lots of ways you can do it. And I said to her, if you like to drink your coffee in the morning, just be fully in the moment with that hot cup of coffee in your hand and the smell of it when it's perking, and the first sip, and how the mug feels when you're holding it. And she was like, yeah, I can do that. And it seemed odd to me that I said, you don't have to deny who you are, but I really feel like it's the truth, and that I'm mindful in my way, and you should be mindful and practice mindfulness in how it brings you joy. It shouldn't be a chore. If something's a chore, then you're resisting something in yourself.
Where you were talking, I got this idea of mindfulness was supposed to be a way of escaping all the other boxes and routines. And, I don't want to name anything in specific, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, I don't belong here, I don't belong there. Who am I? I'm mindful, right? That's how I started. But now mindfulness is another box that you should fit in, right?
Yeah.
So all the freedom of being mindful now is being defined by, okay, you are living in a 5D, you are meditating, you are eating organic, it's like now you have a checklist to be mindful.
Yes.
So we box mindfulness. we create another box now.
Yeah. It's funny how we like to do that. Labels and definitions, and you're either in or you're out. Like there's no flow. there's no like overlap. It's
It
clear.
seems like the moment we put a name in it, now you're in or out. So the problem is when we start naming things, right? Because
Yeah.
now there is mindfulness. Now there is a group that, you know, is mindful. And then you belong to this group or you are out. So
Yes.
maybe
I
we
remember one time someone asked me in our group, in our circle of spiritual friends, um, about my meditation practice or whether I meditated every day, and I said no. And the way they looked at me, like they dropped everything and just were staring at me open mouth. And I thought, oh my God, I have no right to say that I'm a mindfulness teacher because I don't meditate every day. But I really, really, really like everything I do now with mindfulness is like I have these quizzes about like, what do you like to do? You can mindfully knit. Go for a mindful run. You
Mhm.
know, I really want to emphasize that people need to embrace their uniqueness and not all these precepts and rules and regulations and labels, like you said, about what's right and what's wrong. And I'll just never forget that. I was like, see, I'm being judged by my own spiritual friends because I'm a closet non-meditator, you know?
Yep.
But I, even the fact that I'm talking about it now, I didn't talk about that I didn't meditate every day until like this conversation, basically, because it was like a shameful thing in a way. Like, how can you be spiritual if you don't meditate every day? And how can you be spiritual if, you don't write your gratitudes in a journal every day? Like, um, and I would rather have a menu, like you said, where I can choose what appeals to me
Mhm.
instead of it being this really narrow definition. Like, here's a whole range of things. And then there's like the and more that you can add on as you start discovering about yourself and how you like to live spiritually and add that in, like, or this whole idea of like when Black Lives Matter, that was another thing in the spiritual circle where I had some friends, and they were like, I don't feel the need to go out and speak out about it or to post about it or to participate in that at all. All I need to do is sit at home and meditate and focus on spreading light and joy into the world. And I remember being really caught in my own judgments of that,
Mhm.
both right and wrong.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm wrong in feeling complete sadness and sorrow and anger. If I'm a spiritual person, maybe I shouldn't be feeling those things. Maybe I should be just all light and love.
Mhm.
But now I'm kind of like, I think there's that whole spectrum, right? So some people are going to spread light and love through their meditations and their visualizations and the energy they hold. And then the others are going to be the warriors that go out there. And then there's going to be people like me who just hold that truth and speak their truth and how they feel with the people in their family and their friends and on their social media. Um, it's just,
I'm thinking we want to try always to fit as humans in categories, in places, in
yeah,
groups, and
belong.
belong. And we try to find what is that we're doing that is similar, so that way we can connect, right? But in a way, I feel more like creation is looking for the opposite.
Yes.
Creation is looking for the uniqueness, to have more variety, to expand out through uniqueness. So we try to see how we both are have same way of perceiving things, but the gift is actually in you perceiving reality in one way and I'm perceiving reality in a different way. I'm going through life one way, you are going through life in a different way, and that gives more choices. that gives expansion, you know? It's like it's opening more paths.
Mhm.
So if we, instead of trying to create checklists of how we can belong, we can accept our uniqueness and understand that it's a gift that we can all perceive mindfulness in different ways. It's a gift that there are people that feel, okay, I'm going to stay home and send in light, and other feels, okay, I'm going to go there in March for whatever cause. Some people will say, no, I'm just going to support the ones that are marching. And others will say, I'm going to prepare meals for the ones that are marching. So, in a way, we all find our own unique gift, like pieces of the puzzle that then we can put together and we can see the big puzzle, which is creation. But for
Yeah.
that, we have to understand that we are all different, that we all have different gifts, that we all perceive reality in a different way, that we can all express an aspect of God that is unique. And when we accept each other based on that uniqueness and that difference, then it's more coming together. You know, it's like
Mhm.
the way we dress. We all kind of dress the same way, different colors, but same way. So how
Mhm.
about if we're allowing ourselves to dress in whatever thing we create? And we're just putting out there more creativity, more colors, more ways for others to have to choose from more places.
Mhm.
But instead of expanding and expressing more, we're trying to control and kind of fit together into something.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a crazy thought that I'm starting to. It's that we're trying to contract and fit all tight together and be all the
Mhm.
same. When the idea of creation is actually the opposite, is to, okay, find your uniqueness, show it, because that will bring more. And out of your creations, which is unique, you're bringing a new reality. When you transform and you bring an aspect of you into physicality, you change physicality. So the new physicality gives others more options to recognize, to see in themselves, and to express. You know,
Mhm.
it's in a way like ex- expanding. And we expand by understanding that we are all different and accepting our differences and actually admiring, embracing our differences, supporting our differences.
But think about how we've been programmed
Oh, yeah.
for millennia, for thousands of years, that being outside,
Hmm.
being an outsider means death.
Yeah.
It
Get
means
close tight to protect yourself because
yeah,
others will come and will kill you. So,
yeah,
yeah, I understand. But
yeah.
maybe life, maybe part of this transformation that we are all experiencing is the new understanding.
Oh,
The
for
new
sure. But I think it's gonna take a lot of time, energy, and maybe time to unravel that within each of us, but then also within society.
Mhm.
You know, I think a lot of the tension of what's going on right now in the world is because we're so used to putting it up in the dynamic of us versus them.
Mhm.
Always you're either with us or you're not. And there's that conflict
It's even
always there.
it's even sadder than that. It's not us against them. It's us protecting ourselves from them. We always feel like them will come and attack and take something from us. So it's all this boxing in and getting tied together, doing all the same. It's more like in a fear,
Oh yeah.
right?
Mhm.
It's like if we are different, we walk outside of this group and we are ourselves and understand that we don't fit here, we want to be ourselves, then we're going to be exposed. And something can come and kill us. So let's ignore who we are and ignore our own life and get inside that box when we are all tied together, just in case.
Mhm. I think there's a big element of needing to be validated too. if you're with us, then you're showing us that we're right, that we're making the right choices, that the words we're using, our beliefs are right. And if you're not, then you're not validating us. So we need to deny you, and we need to annihilate or get rid of you, or we need to conquer you.
But I'm noticing an opening. I'm noticing
Me too.
that more and more people are being brave enough to say, I don't fit here, I'm out.
Yes.
And of course, when you're out at the beginning, you feel a little bit lost. It's a path that you have to open on your own.
Yeah.
So of course, you have spiritual help, but it's not like holding hands with someone physical. It's knowing that you're being loved and guided, and it's light and courage coming to support your journey, but it's
Yeah.
not something that you can see with your physical eyes. So
Yeah.
it's not easy to leave the box and start opening your own path. But the more and more people are brave to do that, the more others from within that box can start looking and say, well, but if they can do it, maybe I can do it too. So, and the box also will start losing, that force, that strength, if more people are daring to leave it, to leave behind, their stories, and, start creating new stories.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the whole reason why we share our meditations and we put our posts out there, and is to encourage people to live that authentic life, and to start to explore how they're unique, and what they are meant to express, and how they're meant to kind of bloom in
Mhm.
the world. I think that's why we do it, because we're realizing that in ourselves, and we're seeing what joy that brings. It does bring fear and insecurity and vulnerability too, but there is so much like, oh, I really want to get to know who I am.
Mhm.
I really like going on that journey of figuring out what I like, and stripping away all the labels and the expectations and the rules, and just living to see what that moment is going to bring for me, what opportunities for me.
When we started the video, you just said, I'm just living. Like that was nothing or boring. And now I think we can say, I'm just living.
Yeah,
I'm living my life. I'm finding my path. It's a big deal. The
it
just
is.
living becomes a big deal.
It is. And I think the reason that I feel like I'm just living is because that is one part of my life where the rules and expectations are still weighing on me in some ways, and that I don't feel the complete freedom to say, you know what? I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is who I am, and this is what my life is, without having to answer to anyone else. And I think that's one of my big things that
That
I'm
is
working
us
through.
being outside that box. And we
Yeah,
knew how the box worked. So we knew
yeah,
the rules and we kind of felt comfortable within that box. And now we are out and we don't know the rules outside the box and we don't know what's happening outside that box. So we are kind of figuring out
yeah,
where we go and what we want to do now and who we are. Because of course, the moment you leave the box, your personality changes. you know
yeah,
your opportunities also change, your possibilities change, the understanding of yourself changes, everything changes. So you have to redefine yourself outside the box.
but it is a process of,
Mhm.
it's almost like there are little strings attached to you with each expectation, and some of them are thicker than others, and you're just working at releasing yourself from them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't realize that there's part of that string still attached to you until all of a sudden a new situation arises, and you're like, oh, it's that again. Like, I'm dealing with that again. I thought I was through with that, but here it is again. So it
Layer
is
of it.
a process. Yeah. Yeah.
but probably the more away you walk from that box, the more freedom you experience, and the easier it becomes to keep removing layers. I think the first layers, the first chains to that box are the most difficult ones. I
Yeah.
think the ones that are suffocating you and you don't know, like for me was, like quitting my career. It took me how many 3 years I was talking, I'm gonna do it. And stepping into something that I still don't know what I'm doing, why and what I'm doing. So the most difficult ones were those first steps. And then, once you realize you survived the first few, it's okay, then I can take another step. And you
Yeah.
see yourself that you're still surviving. So then you start gaining the strength to keep going and maybe faster and maybe just like, okay, and this one and this one and this one. But the first ones are the ones that really suffocates.
Yeah.
First steps are the ones that make those first decisions. I'm not this person anymore. I cannot live my life this way anymore. I cannot stand this anymore. What am I going to do?
You know what's interesting too is that when you're in the box, you get the validation from those around you. But when you step outside, that's when the validation is just from your inner self and your connection with God, higher self too. And that can be a really weird place to be if you're not used to that.
And somehow you always hear a call back from the box. It's like, hey, we
Yeah,
are here. Remember that it's safer
it's
if you
comfortable.
return.
Yeah, I
We're
you know that.
comfortable. We're still here if you want to turn around. So that is like,
Totally. Totally. But yeah, it definitely is something that I am still working on. And it's really interesting because the pressures that and the judgments that I feel are coming at me, I'm realizing more and more that they're all just made up in my head. Like I am assuming that I am being judged in certain ways. And no one in my family or in my friends are judging me that way. It's all self-created. So you got to wonder about that box too. Like,
the box that we create.
yeah,
Yeah. I experienced something yesterday, with this thing that I want to create and have all these meditations out and the frustration of the website and all of that. I was mentioning all of this to my husband, and I was expecting because he never understands what I'm talking about. He's always, for the ones that don't know me and don't know him, he's like, I'm speaking, when I go all spiritual, it's like I'm talking a different language. I can see his mind like, okay, I don't know what's happening here, right? But I expressed everything that I had to express. And he said, well, at least you know what you want. And for me, it was like, wow. It's like he's not judging me. I'm feeling judged, but he's not judging me. He's actually appreciating that I know what I want and I'm going for it. And I'm just dealing with all the frustrations and all the challenges of finding who I am and doing what I love to do. So that comment that came from him made me really realize that he's not judging me. He's appreciating my journey and he's noticing something. The judgment was coming from me.
I think too that there's this aspect of, so I too get all this support from my husband. And when I ask him, when I point blank ask him, like, do you have a problem that I'm not working anymore, and that I'm not bringing in an income? And it's always like, no, never. I never. And I think there's a part of me that when I hear things that are supportive and positive, I only half hear them.
Mhm.
And there's a part of me that, takes it for that moment and is happy. And then forgets about that and starts to create all of those stories and that narrative again and all those what people must be thinking of me. And I think I just need to like give that a rest like that.
But you see, that's part of the inner transformation. That is actually, in a way, the monster that we are fighting. The chains that we are removing are the chains that we are putting on ourselves. It's the box that we created. So society is just reflecting what is in our minds. And my daughter is here now, so I think
All right. I'm
I
sorry if
think
the dogs were crazy.
oh no, I love, and at the beginning we did not know what we're going to say, but of course every time we get together, there is
Yeah.
always a lot to talk. So, but it's time for me to go now.
Okay. All right. I
Mwah.
love you.
Love you too.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.